In response as to that they have increasingly increased the difficulty in standards for Common Core, I'm going to read at least two of the standards that are for kindergarten in ELA literacy, and it's they are supposed to and absolutely have to achieve these in order to be on the correct path, in order to not fall behind for the next year. You have to, with promptly and support, identify the reasons of the author to support the points in the text, which would be the standard 7 in literacy of ELA, and then the ELA literacy standard 9 is prompting and support, identify basic similarities and differences between two texts on the same topic, which is already having a comparison. Yes, these are far more difficult, but it's at the kindergarten level and it's neglecting the cognitive development of a child, as in the as according to the contributions of painting in children and cognitive development by lead psychologist Elliot S. Eisen, she identifies that children in young ages, especially from up until age 6, sometimes have an autistic way of speaking because they have a more symbolic way of communicating with one another. Therefore, the language barrier and the requirements of Common Core will be increasingly more difficult, especially at the kindergarten level. And according to the actual text, it says that it is best to admit that the language is a primary vocal actualization of the tendency to see a reality as more symbolic. And by Common Core now taking away more hands-on activities and having it be more implemented on the computer, it is creating a larger barrier into understanding actual curriculums and standards that are taking place. As well as David Coleman, who is one of the co-founders of Common Core, has implemented a new way of informational text. And in his speech of bringing Common Core to life, he mentions that all evidence of informal information will now be purely textual. And when coming to close readings, they will be removing any fictional literature, and as well as removing the background of the author and the history of which the time period was written, because they want to have the students fully based on context versus outside influences. But in doing so, I would say that they are limiting the child by removing the historical background and the author, because it gives a key insight as to the reason and purpose of the actual context itself. As well as the reasoning for a lot of the teachers quitting. I have a quote from Susan Suler, who was a 26 years of teaching for kindergartners, and she stated that, "I have seen my career transformed into a job that no longer fits my understanding of how children learn and what a teacher ought to do in the classroom to build a healthy, safe development for appropriate environment for learning and children, and have further disillusioned myself in the understanding and how children progress understanding." And
I have you out of time. I don't know what kind of time he's keeping. You're at 3:45 and it's only supposed to be 3 minutes, so we need to